Hi everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Sports Chat. We haven't done this one before. We're going to be reminiscing about a few sporting stories, and also having a look at our favorite, let's call them world proteas, cricket 11s, and rugby 15s. We'll have a little bit of chat on that as well. Good to have you with us. First time ever on a Saturday night. We decided not to compete with Cyril Ramaphosa. That was at 8 o'clock on Thursday. And let me introduce you to the guests. And first time guest joining us from Johannesburg. And it's Barney Girnun from MSC Sports. Barney, good to have you on the show.
Hello, Brenty. Nice to be here on a Saturday night under lockdown. But great to be with you and Gary.
Yeah, interesting times, eh? And I see since you and I last, you, me, and Gary were on the Betting World show together many years ago. But things have changed in your life. You've got a lighty now.
I have got a little lighty. He's making a bit of a noise, but Jordan Girnun, Jordy. And
excellent.
Let's hope we could be supporting him in about 15 to 16 years' time.
I certainly hope so. That's around about when my son should be ending his career as well. So hopefully we do. And a guy who's doing a lot better with his beard than me. Oh, and I've removed him from the stream instead of bringing him up on the screen. It's Gary Lentin. Gary, good to have you on the show.
Brent, it's always good, and you know what I mean. It's fantastic that we managed to get Barney on the show. We'll go back a long, long way. You know what I'm saying? Barney and my family have known each other probably forever, and I mean that literally. You know what I'm saying? And it's great to have him, man. I just want the people to know, Brent, you and I have been doing business and been friends for a decade or more. I just want people to know that when we do it, if we do question each other's team, we all do it lightheartedly and you know what I mean, with the greatest of respect. And we're all great friends, and we've known each other for a long time, and there's total respect between all of us. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's, you know what I mean, just great. I had a chat to catch up with Barney about 10 days ago. And, you know, like I said, it is a major setback for all the bachelors out there that Barney's settling down and got a kid, but I'm sure he's got his reasons that he can justify it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I would think one of those reasons is the fact that he thought that, you know, South Africa probably going to need another cricket and rugby Springbok. You know, and he's put his genes, those great genes, you know what I'm saying, into school. And let's see what he turns out in 15, 16 years' time. I got no doubt that if he's as passionate as his father is, he's certainly going to have a chance.
Yeah, I would say so too.
And he had two uncles who played for the Springboks in the same teams. Be careful.
That's ridiculous. That is so cool. You know, I'm not sure that there are too many people that have got that. You know what I'm saying? You know, two uncles.
Alan Mensa and Sid Nomus.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I knew about Sid. I didn't know about the second one, so that's interesting. But I know we're going to discuss.
Alan Mensa, yeah.
Okay, we're going to discuss.
How would you know?
Was that before my time? And just welcome to the guys in the live chat. I see the yellow cap who's just started his own YouTube channel as well as come on. He's watching there, so welcome to the guys, and also to anybody watching live on Facebook. Of course, the show will be available afterwards. But Barney, what we thought we'd do is we get started by chatting a little bit of cricket and go through our cricket 11s that we've chosen. Now, Gary will explain a competition to the guys later who are going to be watching that they can enter. But for now, we'll run through the teams, and we've given you the task of picking the Proteas 11. Now, this is your all-time. When I say all-time, you've really looked at it since 1992. Yeah, since readmission. Yeah. We've got your Proteas team. So you want to run us through that, and then I'm going to ask Gary to comment on it as well?
Yeah. So listen, there are obviously some tough choices to make here, really tough, because we've really delivered so many great cricketers since 1992. My opening batsman and captain goes without saying that it's Graham Smith. You know, that's the easy part. To open with him wasn't that easy, and I thought a lot about Herschel Gibbs because, you know, although he could have made more test runs, he was a right-hander as well, and him and Smith had a good record together. But in the end, I went for the man who played he made 22 test hundreds, and that's Gary Kirsten. I made him the other opener with Graham. Number 3 goes without saying, the great Hashim Amla. Not even a race. Number 4, without saying, probably the greatest that's ever played the game, Jock Henry Callis. And then you got the genius, that's A.B. de Villiers at number 5. Number 6, I decided to go for a guy who I was lucky enough to play one season with him at Belfort Guild. And for me, he was a great cricketer. He really he bowled quickly, he could hit the bat on, and he could get 100. And that was Brian McMillan. So I put him in at 6 or so, one of the best slip fielders I've ever seen. And he bowled a really heavy ball. Between Boucher and the Cock for the wicket-keeping berth, obviously Mark Boucher, what a player, what a gritty, big match guy who was always up for a challenge and played 147 tests. But I've gone for the talent of the Cock because he's going to get a lot more hundreds than Boucher. He's going to be a proper batsman. He's going to break all records. So I've gone for Quinton de Kock as the wicketkeeper. The bowling attack, obviously, I picked 12 here, depending on conditions. My spinner, I know Paul Adams has got the most wickets, and Paul Harris did a really great job as well. But I've gone for Kesha Maharaj because he's done, I think he's done brilliantly, and he gets wickets as well, and he's consistent. So I've gone for him as a spinner. And the fast bowlers, what a luxury we got here, because Callis bowls and so does McMillan. And then you got all greats, Kakisa Rabada, Dale Steyn, and Alan Donald. And that's my 12.
That's quite a lineup. Gary, I must admit, I looked at Barney's lineup and I struggled to find any holes in that one. That would be one hell of a side to put out.
It's a hell of a cricket side. At point, it's going to come down to later. I've done an Australian one, and you've done a rest of the world one. And I think that the biggest sort of challenge I had doing an Australian side was the lack of all-rounders, where Barney and you have got, especially South Africans, you just got such a huge pool. I mean, we think about the guys.
Hold on a second. I've left out Vernon Philander here. I've got to put him in. He's another all-rounder. I picked him ahead of the great Sean Pollock. I mean, Pollock over 400 test wickets. I did that because I think Philander won more games. I think Philander was 100 to the fastest to ever, the quickest to 100 test wickets out of anyone in the century, in the last century. He bowled out teams like Australia for 47 and New Zealand for 49, and with that second new ball, he beat England at Lords, we became number one. And I just think that the skill of that man at his best, I've had to pick Vernon Philander, and I want to make note of the great Sean Pollock as well. And obviously Mackay and Tini, very unlucky not to make this team.
Of course, yeah, and Tini, definitely Sean Pollock. And I mean, we forgot about, wasn't it Clive Ross that took us back out of isolation as well?
Yeah, but he didn't play a test. He didn't play a test match really. He only played one day. It's a bit past his career. Peter Kirsten past his career. So guys like that, Daryl Cullinan struggled too much in Australia for my liking. Jonty Rhodes, great field. He'll probably be the 12th man if we needed one. But some good players not in this team, and obviously
we had a little chat, and I think your weakness, picking the South African side, your biggest challenge was finding a spin bowler that, given tough conditions, could still get wickets, Barney. And I think that's something we've lacked since readmission, and perhaps that we even lacked before readmission. You know what I'm saying? He's a spinner that, yes, there's Hugh Tayfield, and we can go through them. There are a few, but on a
Dennis Hobson would have been the best.
I would think that our spinners, we're going to get to who Brent had to choose from in a world, for the rest of the world. He could choose 15 spinners. You really, you're limited to what you could choose there, right?
Gary, is this your Australian best team that you've seen, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, this is my Australian side. I'll tell you what I've done here. I've seen all of them, and we'll get to where I saw Lily, because that's obviously going to be questioned. So I've got two left-handers opening. It's not ideal, and it might even take, 200 or 300 runs before a right-hander comes in if these two get going. But if I go through my side, Warner, he's proven himself. And when I get through the whole side, I'm going to tell you what my thing was.
I wouldn't pick Mitch.
What's that, Barney?
I wouldn't pick Mitchell Stark in my team. I think I wouldn't pick Mitchell Stark. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you guys. So you say you wouldn't have Stark?
Yeah. Because I think they're better bowlers. I think Gillespie is a better bowler than Stark, and Brett Lee could have been a better bowler than Stark.
Maybe.
And quite frankly, I think so is a lot of current. Yeah.
I've gone with two left-hand bowlers, right? And I think, they both, got Johnson swings it more, Stark, keeps it going across the right-hander. I've got Lily there for pure pace, Barney. You know what I'm saying? I've got Warren there, who's arguably the best of all time. If you look at this side here, Warner, Hayden, Ponting, Border, Smith, Gilchrist, I might be short another batsman. You know what I mean? And maybe that's where Stark could go, and you could bring in a Steve Waugh. But I've chosen a side that I think would bat at more than 4 runs and over in Test match cricket. And I've left you with bowlers there that, regardless of what the conditions are, you're going to have to bat well. You need the 20 wickets
Gary,
to win the Test match.
Your mate Devon Cohen has just sent a message to say he would have had Michael Hussey in that team.
Now, Hussey and Steve Waugh were my next guys. Then I have to leave out Stark, right? Because you can't leave out McGrath, and you can't leave out. It's a really thing, but Hussey did deserve it. He came into Test cricket so late, and perhaps that played against him in my final thing. But like I said, I've gone for only 5 specialist batsmen. Australia's short and all-round. I've got a great all-rounder wicket-keeper in Gilchrist. Another guy that can score. If you woke up in the morning and you saw Gilchrist got 200 in a Test match, you would never be surprised, But this side here can take 20 wickets, and they can bat at 4 runs and over. They're going to be very few.
That's the power side.
And just to tell you where I did see Dennis Liddy bowl, in case anybody wants to question it, because my side was chosen on people that I've seen play cricket. I have to have seen.
I tell you where? At the Wanderers, 1976 International Wanderers.
Who did he play for?
Well, he played for that. He played for the International Wanderers team that came here in 1976.
I think they were called the Derek Robins, right?
Well, Derek Robbins. Yeah, they could have been called the Derek Robbins. Yeah, remember seeing him. Listen, everyone says Lily, one of the greatest bowlers that ever lived. No doubt.
You know, I think that in our day, Barney, when we were growing up and trying to pretend that we're really quick bowlers, most of us tried to develop that big jump just before we got into our delivery. You know what I'm saying? Not
Gary, I don't know how quick you were.
No. I lacked a little bit of pace, and I mean, even between wickets, perhaps I was a little bit short there. You know, but you know what, Brent? The truth is, if I go back to Barney, he was a year behind me at school. Right? We didn't start together. I started a year ahead of him, and I kept that gap all the time. I mean, it wasn't clear. But you know, the one weakness Barney had, but the one thing, unfortunately, that for religious reasons, King David never played cricket on weekends. You know,
yes.
So we were always.
I should have gone to Cairns. I should have gone to Cairns.
You should have gone to Cairns, exactly. You know what I mean? Then you could have played with Craig Norris, Barney. Then you could have come and steamrolled us for 60 or 70. You could have gone to Parktown even in those days. I mean, Parktown had a side. What about Sandringham with Gavin Cotson?
Good players.
They were a proper cricket side, but so we never really had a chance to take Barney and beat him by an innings or anything like that and really show our skills because we're limited to 4 hours on a Wednesday afternoon, you know. But obviously,
David Copans used to,
David Copans, he captained my cricket side and everything. But so like I said, and I appreciate that from Yellow Cap. I think I put together a side there, like I said, that will get runs quickly and they'll bowl out most sides unless they bat really well. But Brent,
power
really
side.
Cricket side.
So let me take you through the rest of the world side. I actually battled with this because many a time I would think of a South African name or an Australian name, which I would obviously have in, but leaving them out. I've also gone for players that I've seen. So they're more players from let's call it the late 80s onwards when I really started watching cricket. And I've also gone for some players that you'd question their selection in a world team, but I just enjoyed watching them play. So if I look at a guy like Sehwag, for example, I mean, I think Sehwag would be my answer to Warner up front at the top of the innings. I mean, he could bat at a hell of a rate, and I enjoyed him in Test cricket. Gooch is one that I think if you looked at averages and that, you'd say that potentially. But for me, Gooch was just a guy I loved watching. I thought he was a great player. Dravid, he was a little bit probably not the guy to tick you along at 4 and over there, Dravid, but incredibly solid. He was the sort of guy who could hold an end up for ages and still score. But Tendulkar goes without saying. Viv Richards to me, probably
the best.
He was phenomenal. I only caught the tail end of his career, but he was superb. Yeah. I think for me, the all-rounder slot as well here. I thought about
both of them.
Yeah, there's both of them in that. But for me, I'm going to tell you, I think Stokes is actually one of the best there's ever been. So I went for Stokes, but geez, both. I mean, I would love to have. For me, a guy like both of them, and I think Stokes, to be fair, shares that quality. It's guys who can turn matches. Even if you look back on their career, perhaps you could argue sometimes like with both of them on certain stats and that. But the point is, you bring a guy like that on to bowl or you send him out to bat, and in one session or a couple of overs, he can turn a game. Alan Knott,
great bowling attack.
It's a top bowling attack. Just as far as the wiki goes, I went for Knott. I saw him at the end of his career for England. I think he came out here in one of the Rebel series. And I was just always so impressed with him. I thought from a pure glove work point of view, and I don't think in a team like this I have to worry too much about batting depth, although he could hold his own there. And then the bowling attack, Wasim Akram, who also you would argue is a bit of an all-rounder as well. Murali was the spinner, like Gary said. I had plenty of spinners that I could go for.
Aussies weren't allowed, huh?
Yes, I didn't. Look, I would have gone. I would have gone for me. Warren was the best. As good as Murali was. For me, Shane Warne, if ever there was a guy I wanted to come on and take a wicket, it was him. And then the fast bowlers, I mean, how do you choose between some of those fast bowlers? Guys like Courtney Walsh. But in the end, I went for Marshall, who I just always thought was an absolutely complete bowler, and Curtly Ambrose. But interested to hear your guys' thoughts on those.
Well, I think it's the powerhouse side. I just want to, some people are watching and thinking where the South Africans, this team was picked with no Australians and no South Africans.
What's it?
Yeah, that's it.
No South Africans or Australians in Brent's team.
Yeah, so
that's it.
Obviously, the guys that aren't there that are all-time greats. I mean, if you put them up again, I mean, the one that comes to mind is obviously Brian Lara. You know what I'm saying? The guy's got a few test runs in his time.
He was.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you're
He's
right.
missing
He
in
was
that.
superb.
But it's either him or Vivian Richards or Dravid. Yeah.
I think that maybe Dravid could make room for, in my opinion, for somebody more flamboyant. You know what I mean?
Like a Lara.
Maybe even even a guy that must feel a little. I'm not can't feel terribly sad. We're probably not watching it right now. But that's Virat Kohli. Even he's entitled to a mention here. You know what I'm saying? You just left him out. There's Akram.
Well, he could be the best player ever.
Exactly. Yeah. There's Akram Wacker Yunus, who's obviously also not there. Then there's how does his name slip my mind? He played for Sylvester Clark. You know, if we're talking about guys we saw and we all, and then obviously KP. You know what I mean?
If we don't put KP in this team, I'm going to get into a big caca.
I thought he was South African. I was expecting you to pick him, Barney.
And obviously Sangakara.
Well, I could have put him in my team actually. Yeah.
Then by A9ZBV, Sangakara, what a record he's got, and he gets so little mention. You know, but all
great player, Sangakara.
All the guys that have got their things, the competition, how it works, just to get there, and then we're going to let Barney tell a couple of stories that definitely going to be a highlight. But how the competition works, they have our 33 cricketers, and they're allowed any 2 of their own, right? And they have to put together 11 from our 32 and 2 of their own. So if they think we've left out 2, they can put in 2 roving bankers, so to call them, of their own. And then they must put together their best 11, email it to you, Brent, and then next week we'll decide who deserves to win the 1,000 Rand. And what we're going to do is we're going to give them 1,000 Rand in a GGGaming betting voucher, and we're going to give 1,000 Rand that GGGaming will send to a charity of their choice to help people that are not getting enough food and water during the lockout. So 1,000 Rand to 1,000 Rand to charity. And we'll do the same with the rugby later.
Gary, and what we'll do is we'll put something up on the Good for the Game website. I'll also put a link to it down below in the description box. So guys can come afterwards. This show, if they're not watching live, they can come afterwards, have a look at it, and enter the competition. So we'll put it in writing, so it's going to be quite clear as to what the guys have got to do.
And just one thing, I've just got a message here from a good friend of Barney and I. Barney, are you in trouble there with KP? That's for sure. So first of all, Martin Levos wants to know what I'm eating. It's a sports show. So I specifically went with an Energide. Let me go there. And I went with Bolt to add to the theme. You know what I'm saying? But that's just a snack, Levos. So what I got there from Milton, a good friend of Barney and I, as is Doc Levos, was Milton wanted me to mention that he played with Craig Norris, which is something that I've never really worked out. Because Milton's 53 and Norris is 57, right? Milton left Germiston Boys High in Standard 6 and went to Eden or Damnon for 9 years. So I'm not sure where he ever crossed paths with Craig Norris, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, that's Milton.
Craig Norris was a schoolboy wonder. Schoolboy wonder, good rugby player as well, Craig Norris. Played for Transvaal in the senior team, but never really got quicker as a bowler, and he was quite pedestrian as a batter, I would say.
And I think he had a huge left foot, right, that Barney.
Yeah, left foot, left. Yeah.
Went to play Tessa. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, Brenty.
Now, Barney, I was going to ask you before we get on to we start talking about all the rugby players and that. You've got a couple of stories for us. You mentioned Stephen Jack in the WhatsApp chat. You got something to tell us on that one?
Well, he would love to be listening to this. I never forget that I think it was 1991 or 2. I was opening the batting in the Premier League in Joburg, which wasn't fun in those days because you were facing good attacks every week, whether it was Rice, Eswick, Sylvester Clark, Jack, Snell, Cyril Mitchley, Hugh Page, Neil Radford. We were facing good bowling, and I overslept on a Sunday morning, and I got there late, and we were put in by Wits. We were playing against Wits, Balfour. Our captain, Wayne Ostrovsky at the time, said to me, Barney, you're late. You're not opening the batting, you're going to bat 7. So I thought, well, this is quite a lacquer thing. I can actually relax, don't have to open, and watch for a while. I was batting in 10 minutes. I was batting already. We were 12 for 5. And there was this redhead guy running in from the boundary, bowling at 150, called Stephen Jack, who was bowling at the speed of light. And I went into bat, and the wicketkeeper was Bruce McBride. He was standing miles away. I could not believe how far the wicketkeeper was. And at the other end was a guy called Richard Snell. Useful attack. Anyway, I had got top score in the first, and I was the only guy in the first innings. When I came into bat, we were bowled out for 70, and our top score was 13. And I was the only guy I didn't get. He got 9 wickets in the first innings, and Ian Benning got me. I got 13. And we had to follow on. In those days in Joburg club cricket, you followed on, and 5 wickets down, you were all out in the second innings. And I had to now go and open against this guy. And my parents walked in to watch at Belfort Guild, and I thought, let me show my father a few shots. The wicketkeeper McBride was saying, let's show him something here, Tarzan. And I was ready for the umpires were Barry Lamson and Cyril Mitchley. And in galloped Stephen Jack and bowled me a half volley first ball, the second innings, and I smashed it. 1 bounce 4, hit the boundary and came to the middle of the wicket. And the wicketkeeper McBride said, that's the last one in his half of the wicket, Sergeant. It's time for pain. Well, Stephen Jack ran in and bowled the greatest bouncer of his life, which he will tell you to this day. And smashed me. We used to have helmets, but the helmets only covered the top part, didn't cover here. Smashed me on my jaw. I was out for 5 hours. Got carried to Rosebank Clinic. I spent the whole day getting my jaw put into place. It was a very painful experience. And I started reflecting on why I'm playing cricket and maybe I should be retiring. That was my first thought back then. And that was a very funny, and we speak about it today.
I'm sure, but geez, 5 hours out. Sorry, Gary?
I was out. I was unconscious, but I was unconscious for a long time. I was at the hospital for 5 hours, yeah.
Interesting name that you mentioned there was Barry Lamson, the umpire, because Barry Lamson taught me at school. I was at Hyde Park High in the late, what would it be, in the late 80s? I was going to say 90s, but it was 80s. So he taught me, and him and I played in a double wicket competition once. I've still got the shirt somewhere where he got us his Benson and Hedges, because he used to umpire, of course, in the Benson Hedges. Yeah, and he got us in, and him and I played in a double wicket. But I mean, he was one of the umpires. He was the first umpire. There's been a couple since to really not umpire the traditional way. I mean, he did all, what was it called? The Lamson, Lombarda, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. A bit like Barney from New Zealand. Yeah.
Yes.
But, you know, another thing that Barney mentioned there, his captain, another guy that came from
Wayne Ostrowski.
We just
great player.
turned them out at Ireland. Great cricketers, you know. And Brent, you mentioned Hyde Park. We never had the good fortune of playing against Hyde Park because we, you know what I mean, you're in the level division or 2 below us in rugby and cricket, you know what I'm saying? But I must, you know what I mean, I've got some very fond memories of Hyde Park, I must be honest, you know. I mean, I would say that if I had to break down my conquest when it came to dating, let's call it dating, right? I would say that I dated more girls from Hyde Park than any other school, followed by King David. Which, and I'm happy, Brent, if you took out more guys from Harlem, you don't have to say it on the show. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to talk about that, but, you know, you guys both very lucky to go to a co-ed school. You know what I'm saying? We would, you know what I mean? I went to Harlem, it's all boys school and everything. Obviously, we missed out on a lot of that. But, yeah, Barney. So I remember Barney played Premier League cricket. I remember that. And I mean, come from, at the end of the day, Brent, I mean, I know Barney doesn't want to just sit and talk about his whole family, but I mean, his brother played provincial rugby. Am I right, Barney?
Uncle played with Springboks, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Trevor was a reasonable cricketer at school.
Yeah. You like my rugby team I picked there, Brent? My Springboks team, my best Springbok team.
Yeah, let's have a look at the team now. Pull up. Let's start with the Springboks. Barney Springboks team. I'm just going to say one thing quickly before we finish on the cricket. I've got to say that because we only decided on this today in terms of what we're going to discuss, I reckon with the World 11, if you spend the longer you spend on it, the more confused you're going to get trying to pick a World 11 because there's just so many. I mean, I must be honest. Like when Gary mentioned Lara, I was like, geez, how didn't I think of Brian Lara, you know, that type of thing. So it was one of those things, the longer you spend on it, the more names you're going to get. But let's have a look at your Bok team. Take us through that.
Okay, I'll take you through it. Listen, between Monty and Andre Hubert, I mean, Andre Hubert was a great fullback. But Monty played over 100 tests. He was flawless in that 2007 Rugby World Cup, the whole tournament in France. He hardly missed a kick. He never dropped the ball. He had blinding pace. He played centre. He played fullback. He also won a Tri-Nations. He also traveled the world and played in England and played in Wales for Newport. And Monty became, I reckon Monty really became a great player. And that's why I've had to pick Monty here because he's played much more. He's a centurion. He's won a World Cup like Joubert. And Joubert was unbelievable in his day, but he never played close to as many test matches or went on as many tours as Monty. So I've gone for Monty. Left wing, not even a race, Brian Habana. Centres, well, we've had some good centres over the years, but you know, John de Villiers and Jacques Fourie, for me, were the best pairing we ever had. You know, look at Yapi Mulder and Henry Leroux in 95. Yeah, not bad. If you look at present, Lukanya Am and De Hollander, bloody good pairing as well. But just because they also played so many test matches together and beat so many great teams together, I'm going to go for de Villiers and Fourie, Jacques Fourie. For me, Cheslin Colby is the best right wing. And he's, Johnny come lately, but he's been unbelievable. What a World Cup he had. Defense, attack, can't fault him. Definitely right wing. I've gone for Andre Pollard as my scrum and my fly half, because I reckon he's going to be one of the best flyers we've ever had in this country. And I reckon he's already won a World Cup, won a rugby championship. I think he's our best flyer in this time, better than a guy like Butch James and better than a guy like Joel Stransky. Scrum half for me was between two guys and two guys only, and it was between Farid Priya and the great Joost van der Westhuizen. I gone for Farid Priya because I don't think I've ever seen anyone better than him. You know, fly half also, you know, Henry Honeyball could have been, you know, what a great fly half Henry Honeyball was as well, but never won a World Cup, and you know, Pollard has. So yeah, there are lots of options there. Scrum half, obviously Farid Priya. I put the Beast in ahead of Oosterand because the Beast has played over 100 times. And I thought the Beast set the tone in that World Cup final. He almost won it by himself, the way he destroyed Dane Coles in that final. First scrum, game was almost over at that first scrum, and he was responsible for that. He had his finest game in his last test, and he's a legend. And so is Oosterand, but the Beast has played over 100 tests. I've got him in. John Smith, between him and Bismarck, was the two hookers there. And I've gone for John Smith because he was the leader, played so many, also a Centurion. Now, going for Frans Malherbe, our current tight head, because I think he's a very underrated rugby player. And okay, Barney Swart in 95, yeah, not bad. And then you had like Yanni du Plessis and CJ van der Linde in 2007, yeah, all right. But for me, the most consistent guy and a great scrummager is Frans Malherbe. Skalkberger, I had to put him in the side. He's one of the best Springboks we produced in this time. And, you know, Skalkberger was, in his day, the best flank in the world. How can you not go Matfield and Bucky's Buerta as your locks? We've had so many great locks in this country. Mark Andrews to start off with back in 95. What a lock forward he was. The current locks, Etzebeth. I mean, he is Dinkum, a world-class lock. I think RG Snyman's going to be an unbelievable rugby player going forward. We've never been short of locks, but I think these two are best. They match each other so well. The one, the artist, the other one, the brawler, the enforcer. So, yeah. Ruben Kruger has always been one of my favorite rugby players, the late, great Ruben Kruger. And, you know, I could have picked Peter Seftertoy, who's a great and will be a great. But I just thought I have to have a player from the 95 team in here, and it had to be Ruben Kruger for me. I rate him so highly. What a gentleman. What a fine rugby player. Also, a bit underrated. One of our greatest flanks. And then, without saying, no one else comes into the equation with Dane Vermeulen as our eighth man, Dwayne Vermeulen. Unbelievable World Cup. He's had an unbelievable 2 or 3 years. He's a leader as well. And obviously the guys like Siakalisi, what he's done, a great of the game. He will be revered as a great of the game, but it's still early in his rugby career and he's got a lot more to play.
Well, I'm going to ask Gary for comment. And while Gary's commenting, I'm going to bring up some of the live comments. I didn't want to bring them up while we had the team sheet on there, but you could look at those as they come up, Barney. But Gary, what are your thoughts on that team?
We've got certain positions where there's so much talent, and one or two where we're a little bit thin, I think. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, Andre Joubert, to be left out of any team in the world would be, you know what I mean, very difficult for him because he is really one of the greatest fullbacks I've ever seen. You know, he was even maybe ahead of his time. You know, he did things that other fullbacks didn't have the balls to do in those days. You know what I'm saying? And he did it so well. So that's a tough one. For me, both left footers. For me, I'm an Andre Joubert fan. You know what I'm saying? Again, two of the all-time greats. And then you have to choose between Farid Priya and Joost. You know what I'm saying? Either of them could, if you got 10,000 people that knew about rugby and they chose their best teams ever from all the players that have ever played the game, there'd be a lot of people that put Joost in as well. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. Then again, like Barney says, locks, Esterbet. It's hard, you know. But again, he's gone for a combination that's tried and tested. Then he has the dilemma of John Smith and Bismarck. It's a lot easier than the coaches that had to deal with the two of them for 100 test matches. You know, again, impossible. The Beast and Oosterand. These are the things that Barney's already gone and focused on. But he said something there. He mentioned a name, and you know, it's a tough one because you know Mark Andrews. If you had to choose a reserve, Barney, you know, two reserve forwards, not two. You know, you could.
I'll pick Mark Andrews.
He played 8th man when he won the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
And you can go to Toy, who could play flank and lock for any team in the world.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
There's so much wealth that, but like we said, these are things that, make the beers go down even more fun, and you can discuss them all day, all night,
Yeah.
And it's just our opinions and everything. And there's so many great players that aren't in that side because they've been kept out by better players, perhaps, and Barney's opinion, you know what I'm saying? But it's a great side that would take a hell of a team to beat that, right? It would take one hell of a team to beat that. And again, the one thing you did in the cricket, you chose Graham Smith to captain the side, right?
I need a captain here. Well, obviously, John Smith has to be the captain.
That's what I was going to ask you, before Jean de Villiers.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Definitely, yeah.
Fair enough. Great side.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great team.
So I did the All Blacks. So let's go through the All Blacks, and then Gary, you can go through your rest of the world. So I'll go through my All Blacks team. Olo Brown, Lucid prop. I must say, on the prop side of things,
tight.
You're going from the
Olo Brown was tight head.
Was he tight head? Oh, I didn't. I thought he was a loose because I went for Heyman. Heyman was a tight head as well, eh?
Heyman was a tight head, yeah.
Well, I'm moving Brown to loose head for this test.
Okay, fine.
But so on the prop side of things, look, I'm not a connoisseur of the scrums. I love watching a good scrum. I hate watching a collapsed scrum. So it was an area that I actually did, and wherever I had a look back at some of the guys in the sort of 90s and stuff like that. Heyman was the early 2000s. Fitzpatrick to me picked himself at hooker. I thought that was pretty straightforward. Locks, New Zealand have had a lot of great locks over the years, but I was always a big fan of Ian Jones and more recently Brodie Retallick. So that would be my lock pairing. Michael Jones, and I always remember
this is the best loose forward pairing I've ever seen. Michael Jones, Richie McCaw, and Zinzan.
And Zinzan Brook. I mean, to keep a guy like Kieran Reid out of the side, you're good. And I mean, Michael Jones, my memory of Michael Jones, I caught the tail end of his career, and I think it was the 91 World Cup he was played. And I'll never forget.
87.
Well, he played 87.
87.
And I'll never forget, there was a Sunday game, and he couldn't play the Sunday game for religious reasons. And it's just something that always stuck in my mind. I don't know if I'm assuming he never played it in the end. I can't remember that, but always stuck. But I remember him, he could jump. This guy could jump like on his own without support. He could jump an incredible height in the air. He was just such a supreme athlete. I mean, Richie McCaw picks himself. Zinzan Brook, I mean, to me, I just loved watching that guy play. I mean, I'll never forget, I do forget the game and that, but when he put a drop goal over from range, he just had so much talent. So that's loose forward combo. I don't know if you guys want to comment on the forwards before we go on to the back line.
No, you got them. I think you got them right. I don't know, maybe Ian Jones. I think there might be better locks, maybe, but he was a good player.
Yes.
Yeah.
There might be some more mobile, even bigger locks that they've had in the days that you haven't gone. And I think the one thing that stuck out to me, that although All Blacks forwards have dominated rugby for a long, long time, and even they're not the best side, they're the second best side. They've done it somehow without the best props. You know what I'm saying? You go look at their cupboard. Their prop cupboard's a little bit bare. It's a bit strange. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but anyway, it's a good set of. I mean, like Barney said. I mean, those loose.
What's a loose clear?
Yeah, but that's actually where I struggled was the props. Funny enough, Gary, because I didn't have those standout. Like, it just didn't feel like there were standout guys who were definites in the position. So battled a little bit. But as Barney was saying, I mean, that loose forward trio would be something else to play against. Let's run through the back line. Yes, scrum half is something that I think New Zealand have had a lot of talent. You know, certainly in my era where I've watched a lot. I mean, it was a guy like Justin Marshall. Even in today's times, there's 2 or 3 guys who could probably compete. But I went for Aaron Smith in the end.
Sid
going, maybe before Brent's time, but but I mean, it's hard to look past a guy, in my opinion, like Justin Marshall, right? You know, he just had that extra 20 pounds that he could throw around. It didn't slow him down. The same as yours.
Yeah, I would have had Marshall in ahead of Smith. Yeah. Anyway,
I must say, I wrote Marshall, and then I ended up going for Smith. There's just something about Smith's pass that I absolutely love. It's that bullet pass of his to me. But yeah, I would say very close between those. Dan Carter for me. I mean, there's been some decent. There's been some good fly halves like Grant Fox that over the years. But for me, Dan Carter. I think Gary and I discussed it on last week's show. For me, Carter was sort of one of the greatest players of all time. The centre combination, I wasn't always the biggest Nonu fan, but I did think when him and Conrad Smith paired up in the World Cup, I thought they were phenomenal. So I went for that. But certainly if I look back a bit, there's the likes of Frank Bunce and that could certainly be there. So I guess I've been swayed perhaps by probably more the years that I've watched rugby. Lomu for me on the wing is pretty much picks himself. I think the right wing will be a lot more contentious. I went for Jeff Wilson in the end. I always enjoyed watching him play. But I'm sure you guys will come up with a couple of names that could probably beat him out. And for me, Ben Smith at fullback, although now, even as I think about it, we discussed him last week, Christian Cullen. Probably I would put Cullen in now that I think about it more. I would probably put Christian Cullen in. Cullen was an amazing player. At the time, I was thinking Smith, and that was about 20 minutes before the show. It was probably a bit pushed, but definitely Christian Cullen to go in there. What do you guys think of the back line?
It's a good back line.
Good back line.
You know what I mean?
Definitely, Christian Cullen has to play.
Yeah. And
maybe Tano Umaga,
Maybe Umaga before. Yeah. Also a lot of test matches. There are a lot of All Blacks there that aren't in it. A lot of great All Blacks. I mean, at fullback, I think Cullen has to start. And the wings, you could choose 1,000 wings. I mean, at the end of the day, you could throw in Rocco Coco. They got no shortage of wings. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, for me, the best wing, but I think he was Fijian in the end, but he played for the Auckland Blues. What was his name? Kako Barney or something like that.
Yes,
but I think then he went and played in Europe. Yeah, and I always thought if that guy had been an All Black, we all would have been in big trouble because I saw him score a try. I think it was against the Blue Bulls one day. That was absolutely amazing. But he unfortunately played for Fiji there. But it's actually picking an All Black 15 is also tough because there's just so many great players. But let's have a look at Gary. I'm going to bring up. I'm bringing yours up in two sections, Gary. First of all, I'll bring up the forwards for the rest of the world.
Okay, so again, I struggled with the front ranks. I've gone for Kyan Healy, who hasn't quite reached his potential yet. He has reached his potential, but I think he's going to continue. I think he'll come to South Africa next year and he'll prove himself as a British Lion. He hasn't done that yet. He's gone on a tour. He's never played for the British Lions, which I found was very tough for me to include him. But I battled to find somebody who I think is mobile, and he stood up to some of the best front ranks in the game. Yes, he's not a British Lions yet, but he's won a Grand Slam. And he's won a Grand Slam against a good England side. You know what I mean? He's a good player. He's mobile. He's big. He's a good scrummer. And what convinced me to put him in was the fact that I went for an Irish hooker. And the hooker, to me, was one of the easier positions. Keith Wood, he changed hooking a lot. Well, I know a few other girls that have changed hooking, but he changed it in a different type of hooking thing that I'm used to. He was mobile and in your face. And he was another type of, I would compare him perhaps maybe with the South African, I'd compare him perhaps to an Uli Schmidt. That type of hooker, you know what I'm saying? Not as sort of big or as great a scrummer as John Smith, but he got around, and that's what got me to put Healy in. Jason Leonard, the man's played 100. I think he's the most capped England rugby player of all time, probably. It would be, 3 or 4 British Lion tours. I think he deserves his place there, you know what I'm saying? And again, it's something where I don't know that much about it. I go on reputation and everything, and I think that Jason Leonard deserves his place. The next 2 years, they may both be number 5 and everything, but I had to choose the 2 best locks that I think have come out, that I've seen play for them. And to me, they both captained World Cup rugby teams, and they both captained World Cup rugby teams that dominated. And Eales and Martin Johnson would never let down anybody in any type of rugby, in any, as human beings, they wouldn't let down anybody. You know what I'm saying? They are big, and perhaps a little bit of mobility that they're missing there, but I think they were the easy one for me. And I know that I spelled his name wrong, but this is where the most contentious part's going to come in, my loose forwards. Because there's so many that have been left out, and guys like the Lalio, and I can carry on about them, and a lot of Englishmen and a lot of Welshmen as well, and guys that I just sort of caught
Australians.
What's that, Barn?
Yeah.
And there's some Australians. There's George Smith, and there's also Pocock. It's easy to, but because I've got such big blocks, Pocock deserves a place there in today's modern game. I think he'd be okay. He would definitely make it. But I went for Jean-Pierre Rives because we discussed him last week. He's a French legend, and I think that what I lack in maybe in a little bit of speed in my locks, I'll make up there with Jean-Pierre Rives and everything. The next 2, I'm going to probably take a lot of flack with, but Olivier Manya, for me, was a complete good player. You know what I mean? Never let anybody down. And then the one that I'm not sure would be on too many people's team is a guy called
Italian,
An Italian.
An
I think that an Italian. I just think that he spent his international rugby career going backwards, right? And that's the truth. And he stood up, and he's still great. And to me, He's the greatest rugby player ever to come out of Italy. There's no doubt about that. There's no question about that. Not that that makes you a star on a world stage or anything, but for my money, if he played behind a pack of 7 forwards that dominated, you would see one of the most talented and best 8 men in the world ever. I would choose
very good point.
In my side.
Let's get on to your backs then, Gary. I'll bring them up.
Yeah.
So the backs, I was lucky enough to see Gareth Edwards, but I had to choose between him and George Girnun. And I went for Girnun because of the tackle on Wilson. I went for Girnun on the fact that he played against the best scrum halves in the world. He played against Hughes. He played against Marshall. He played against everybody you could ever choose. And those 3 to me will be the best batch of scrum halves the world's ever seen or will ever see playing rugby at the same time. Girnun, Marshall and Hughes. To me, it was a tough one, but because of his more modern and everything, then I went for him. Johnny Wilkinson picks his name without any question about it. Campese, I'm not the greatest Campese fan, but his record forces me to put him in. I have no option but
good player.
Good player, and yeah, my centers I think stand up with any of the centers that have been chosen. They're both world-class centers, played hundreds of tests, both played probably over 100 test matches. I know Sella was a leading test match player for a while. Him and O'Driscoll, I think, can both cut a defense in half. They could score tries from anywhere. Both great attacking centers. I've gone for Palau on the wing. People might say that he's playing out of position there and he's a better fullback, and maybe that's the truth. But he scored so many tries. He's so big. He's so good under the high ball. I'm going to have him there because I can never leave out Serge Blanco. I think at the end of the day, Serge Blanco's a French legend. I've got a lot of Frenchmen in this team, I think, compared to a lot of other people, what they would choose. Again, there's a hell of a lot that we can discuss, a hell of a lot of players.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Israel Folau out of the side because of his behavior of late. I mean, he's really pissed off half the world. I'm just saying, we put Jason Robinson in from England. Now, there's a wing.
I thought about another guy that as well played wing and fullback as well, Barney. And I mean, definitely was one of the guys that I considered. And perhaps, if anything, when I went for Palau over Robinson because of size, and I just think that sometimes, we're going to get involved in a game where there are going to be quite a few up and unders and everything. That's how rugby's played. It's a tough
thing to do. Gary, you sound like Heineke Meyer now. It's not all about size. Cheslin Colby is tiny, and he's the best wing in the world. So, Jason Robinson for me.
Hold on 1 second, which brings me to another wing that I could easily have chosen, Barney. And that's what's the little Welshman's name? Oh, no, man. I thought about him for
Williams.
He wouldn't be out of place in this side either. So if I wanted to get a mate for Colby, I could easily have put him in, and then each side would have had a mascot as well. It would have been perfect. And not as though Jeff Wilson's the biggest either, hey, Brent? So we've all got our little guys standing on the wing there. Could easily have worked.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, great backline, yeah.
So let's just have a look at the comments here. I think I brought this one up. Perezi is like Cristiano Ronaldo. We did discuss that one. And Yellow Cap just bringing up that tackle of Gregan on Wilson to seal that man. I mean, that is one. I mean, that must have been how many years ago now? And I think most of us can still remember that one, eh?
I reckon that's about 20 odd years.
Yeah,
20 years.
It was. I'll tell you what. I think it was. Wasn't that just before the World Cup? Yeah, wasn't it before the '95 World Cup?
No. It was between. I would say, in between '95 and '99.
Let me just say one thing, Brent. I'm not even going to argue. Last week after the show, I got into a call with Barney, and he was questioned by Doc Lebos about a rugby match. So I asked him, the rugby match took place in 1974, took place one afternoon, a midweek game at Ellis Park. So the question was, who was the fly half for the I thought it was the Quackers, but it was another name. It was the Quackers. And who was the referee, which I thought was a pretty rough question to ask all three of them for a match that took place the best part of 45 years ago. And Barney didn't get 2 out of 3 right, and he didn't get 1 out of 3 right. He rattled off all 3. So if he said it was between 2 World Cup, perfectly honest, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
Listen, neither do I. I remember a bit about rugby. I can remember.
But so I'm not going to argue when it was. But I'm saying, again, we said on the show a lot, Barney, that how lucky we all are to watch players from all these generations. Players from
in times like this, in times like this, how lucky we all are to have watched sport, to watch live sport.
Exactly.
I mean, in times like this, you've got to appreciate those times. We haven't watched live sport for a month now. There's no sport at all. And it just takes you back, makes you appreciate what we got in life. And, you know, I just hope people do appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I've always said it to my dad and I've always said it to everybody. The greatest thing that happened to all of us is DSTV. You get on when things were in normality, you watch, there were 10 Premier League games a weekend. We were so blasé and arrogant. You know what I mean? If the fact of the matter is, I said, no, I'm going to stop that again. If there was a soccer match on a Saturday afternoon where, for argument's sake, Chelsea were playing, choose another good side, Chelsea were playing Wolves, there's a chance we wouldn't have even watched it because we had so much choice of other things to watch. Back to the Curry Cup. We haven't even gone to the Curry Cup, hey guys. Some of those great Curry Cups, and Barney only went back to 92, hey Brent. If you go a little bit further, the Carl Duplessis, the JC Pinos, we can go back to the Donny
Ray Mortz.
Ray Mortz. That we saw Nas. You know, so many of these guys that we saw.
There's a few more names.
They are great, but again, I had to go for Blanca. I just needed couple of Frenchmen in the back line. I needed somebody that could attack. He scored tries. He's just
great player.
And to be perfectly honest with you, he's one of the few backline rugby players that I've ever watched that wears the same size pants as me right now. So that suits me perfect. And the man got a clothesline called, I think it's called S15 for oversized shirts and pants. Oh, beautiful. I mean, I love it just for that alone. So he's high on my list of people. And
just a memory I've got of Chris Latham there when he was playing for the Reds. It was my mom's 60th birthday, and we were having it at the Old Poctonian Sports Club there. And I was in the pub before the party watching the Reds against the Lions, and I backed the draw 25-1 in this particular game. And it was a crowded pub. The Lions were leading by 7 points, and it was the last minute of the game. And Chris Latham burst through with his socks down. Remember, I always used to have his socks down. And he burst through under the post, and he dotted it down, and the draw came in. And I just started shouting, I had 25-1. A mate of mine had convinced me to take it. And of course, I was in a pub full of Lion supporters, and just a memory that I'll never forget, because the entire pub went quiet when Latham scored, except for me jumping up and down. But those are great players. And I mean, Burke himself was another top player, Barney.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Matt Burke, great player. He could play in any team, man. Latham, Joe Ruff, left wing, played for ACT, played for Australia. Great boot. Also, three great players.
I thought Sterling Mortlock was a great player. And he's
great centre.
There were times, I mean, he nailed a conversion, I think it was, to win a Bledisloe Cup game, or was it a Tri Nations game against South Africa? From the touchline. I mean, he was
in
a really
Durban, I think it was,
he was a really good player. But Barney, take us. I know you got a couple more stories to share as well. A '99 World Cup, obviously. Are we talking cricket?
99 World Cup. It's a betting story. I said my brother Johnny and a friend of ours, Stephen Ruben, and we decided the All Blacks could never lose this World Cup. I mean, we got beaten by Stephen Larkham's drop kick, which is very unfortunate. We were at that game at Twickenham, and the next day the All Blacks were playing against France, and they were overwhelming favourites. Plus 17 France, minus 17 the All Blacks. And in those days, you could bet per point. I hadn't started my business yet. I was hardly working. We went per point, the All Blacks minus 17. 50 rand a point. Well, you do the maths, because they got beaten by 30, I think. And it took us a year to pay the bookmaker back. So that was the end of my spot betting. And rugby, it ended very quickly.
But worst thing, Barney, they actually started off, the All Blacks were actually in control of that game.
Yes.
I mean, they were something like 13, 14 points ahead at one point. I think.
We were ready to jump off a building. I mean, that was crazy. And then, as I mentioned, I've got a great story about my late uncle, the great Sid Nomus, who died almost 2 years ago. And the great man in 1969, back in the old days, Transvaal were playing Western Province at a wet Newlands. And the score was 10-9, I think, to Transvaal. And the left wing for Western Province was a guy called Gert Miller, who was Sid's co-Springbok wing in the Springbok team. It was Nomus and Miller, the two wings. So Sid was right wing, Miller was left wing, and that day they were marking each other. And in the last minute, 10-9, wet Newlands, Gert Miller's herring down the touchline, the big, fast Gert Miller. And on the touchline, on the flag, on the corner flag, Sid Nomus knocks Gert Miller out, and the final whistle goes. And the captain of Transvaal in those days was a lock forward called Toy Danhauser, who couldn't speak much English. And he went up to Sid Nomus, was on the ground, and he picked him up. And as he picked him up, he said, Nomus in Afrikaans. He Jy het die beste fucking Jood sedert Moses. He said, you're the best Jew since Moses. And that's a great enormous story for you as well. You know, there's so many great sporting stories. You know, there's also Willie John McBride, who was a great player, led the British Lions here in 1974, that great team. He made his test debut for the British Lions in 1968 against the Springboks at Newlands. And he tells the story that he was so nervous playing the mighty Springboks. And they were standing together in the tunnel, the two teams, before the game started, a narrow Newlands tunnel. And he thought he would make conversation with the nearest Springbok. And that was Moff Myburgh, the massive tight head prop who couldn't speak English. And young Willie John tapped Moff on his shoulder and he said, what a lovely, lush, green paddock we're playing on today. And Moff looked at him and he said, I don't come here to graze.
Excellent. I love some of those old stories. And I mean, I think the other thing it's fair to say, I mean, rugby was a different game back then. I mean, even when I played like sort of club rugby and that sort of stuff, you know, just these days is, I mean, guys can't go out drinking and it's just a totally different atmosphere. And Barney, what was the story about Phoenix Park in Dublin?
Well, I played cricket in 1986. I played cricket in Dublin for a team called Carlisle. So I was there for 6 months. And they took me racing to Phoenix Park Racecourse in Dublin. And I put 10 pounds on a horse at 7-1. I was 19 years old. And I'm watching this race and my horse can't lose. I mean, it's race over. But what happens at an Irish horse race? My jockey falls off the horse just before the finish. And I don't win my money. I mean, I was sick.
But it didn't put you off having the odd bet over the years.
I like having the odd punt on a pony on a horse. You know, Gary gives me a tip every now and again.
Yeah. Now I know, Gary. I want to bring up something just from the past where you, me, and Barney met was obviously on the Betting World show. Now, I know, Barney, you weren't necessarily a massive punter as such, but when I joined that show, Barney was absolutely deadly with his handicap picks. Do you remember that? We all used to have a best bet, and I mean, I can't remember, Barney, but geez, you went like 9 out of 10 weeks or something. Your best bet would arrive. You were deadly with your handicap.
That was when I started.
Betting World show.
Then I went pear-shaped. Then it went the other way. You know, I'll never forget.
That happens to all of us.
Gary, I'll never forget being on that show one morning on a Saturday morning, and then I went to the horse races in the afternoon, and I was standing at the Tattersalls in the queue, and I heard this one oak shout at the end of the queue, "Yes, from the TV this morning who gave us all the wrong tips." Well, I tell you what, I ran upstairs into the members' enclosure, and I never went down again.
I remember when you first started at Barney, you used to have a banker. If I remember correctly, and your bank always Greek was at home.
Greek was that's
they were far less popular than obviously Western Province and Natal and all the big provinces. So every week, Barney, when Greek was at home, he used to say Greek was plus 17.5, Greek was plus 14.5, and how often Greek was would win off level against the
Greek was tough to beat. Yeah. So listen, I started really well, but I didn't. I'm only human. I went through a very bad patch as well.
Yeah, I remember that as well. But everybody goes through those. The ball bounces your way, whether it's in punting or whatever it is. And, you know, people need to realize that with all types of sports, it's all about millimeters. It's very seldom about meters and kilometers. It's about millimeters. How many guys would have won majors if the ball just rolled a little bit further, sometimes in their favor, sometimes against them?
Gary, I'm talking about majors. I don't know if you can watch on Channel 205, they're saying all the old masters, right? And today they showed Charles Schwartz winning in 2011. Well, that had to be one of the greatest victories ever because look who he beat. There were Tiger Roars going around that course. And I've been to Augusta, so I know what it's like. But Tiger was right in it. You had Adam Scott. You had Cabrera, who's won the Masters. You had Jason Day flying. You had Luke Donald in it. I mean, he beat, what a field he beat to win that major. And what a finish to birdie 15, 16, 17, and 18 at Augusta. I've been there to that place. You don't do that. It's unbelievable what Charles Schwartz did.
The only thing is the other one that went against the South African was when Mickelson went birdie, par birdie to beat Ernie.
Ernie, yeah. And Bubba Watson.
Watson beat Oosthuizen as well in the playoff.
Yeah.
But if there's a golfer that I always thought would win the Masters, and it's really it's not going to change his life. He's a legend of the game. There's no question about it. Yeah. And that is Ernie. I always thought his game was made for Augusta, and I always thought he would. And maybe one thing we need to do is we'll put a spinner coin and everything, and we'll choose 3 teams, I think. An American Ryder Cup team. Well, let's not call it Ryder Cup. An American team, a European team, and a President Cup other team. Maybe
I've got a theory, Gary.
Idea.
Yeah, we can. I've got a theory on this year's Masters. If they move it to where they're going to move it to November, total different time of year than ever been before, I'm saying Rory's going to win this Masters because the different time of year, the different karma, I'm saying Rory will win the Masters.
He's going to win a Masters. He's going to win a lot of Masters, I think.
But he's got to win that for the Grand Slam, doesn't he?
That's what he's short of the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
If you think about the guys that have won the Masters, that have gone afterwards, have done so little. To me, the one that boggles my mind is Jordan Spieth.
Immelman.
What's that, Barn?
Trevor Immelman.
Never started the game. And
Schwartz also hasn't done too much. Schwartz also hasn't done too much since then.
I feel that Schwartz might not be over yet. You feel Schwartz's career making again at some stage, where you're pretty sure that Immelman's going to battle to win the Mowbray Club Championship next year. But the fact is that if you go through these sides and the South African golfers that we produced over the years, and I think that would be something really great if we could do that. And Brent, you choose who chooses which team, and we'll go back to perhaps
Bobby Locke. I want to go back to Bobby Locke.
Let Barney choose the South African side and go back to Bobby Locke. You
can
go back to Bobby Locke. Brent, you want to choose an American or a European one?
Okay, I'll pick the American side.
Okay, you're going to
have pick Europe.
For the Americans. I'll start to put together a rest of the world side, a Ryder Cup side. Can have a lot of Spaniards in, and I know that. It's going to be quite interesting. I've got about 2 good golfers. I'm in a little shit now. But anyway, we'll give it some
that's why I grabbed the Americans.
From Europe on the best side.
Europe, there's a great European. Sebi Ballesteros.
Like a lot of Spaniards. I'm going to pop in with definitely Woosner's going to get a chance in my team. It's going to be fun.
And then just one more question here. I know I've got a mate, Devon, obviously I mentioned him earlier, but he's a massive Liverpool fan. Don't you think it would be right, even if they don't play another game, that Liverpool get awarded this trophy of this league, or this Premiership trophy this year, being 22 or 23 points clear?
The fact of the matter is that I agree, if they do anything, give it to Liverpool, but you can't do anything without the other positions, Barney. That's got to all be null and void. The Liverpool one doesn't affect it. I just feel for the teams that are going to get relegated, they're on goal difference. They got 9 games, and goal difference that are sending them down.
Well, I don't know if they should have relegation, The
fact is that
I'm just saying Liverpool should win.
No side dominated soccer in a season better more than Liverpool. Even the Arsenal Invincibles, even those great sides of Ferguson, they still, even the great side, that Man City sides, needed a goal in injury time. That's how tight it always was. The fact of the matter is that we could find 8 guys, finish the season for Liverpool, and we'd probably find the 6 points that we need. Because the fact is, not a fact, but the chances are that City wouldn't even made them win 2 more games. I think that Liverpool would have beaten City, and that would have been pretty much enough. That would have been enough. But they certainly deserve it. Well, clever guys will work it out. It would be very sad.
And then locally, you got Kaiser Chiefs winning the league here as well. Also, like 5 or 6 points clear. So interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. I believe in Scotland, it's down to 1 team now making the final season.
I see Rangers aren't happy that they want to call the season off. See Stevie G and his team. They're not very happy.
Yeah, very interesting. So there's a lot that has to be sorted out in the world of sport.
But I do think when this horrible virus thing ends, I just think we're going to be inundated with sport. It's going to be unbelievable. I mean, everything's going to be, a lot of things don't have to happen.
But it will come back. The world's gone through worse than this. With less qualified people getting out of it. Well, there've been world wars that have lasted years. This is not going to last 5 or 6 years. They're going to be shit afterwards. There's going to be financial. There's going to be a lot of debts, and it's a really, really terrible thing. I'm just so sure that we'll have a vaccine before. I'm going to tip that the first vaccines will be tested and in circulation. I'm going to get into shit from some of my clever guys, especially Martin later. I'm going to tip September the first people get vaccinated with a vaccine that's been proven.
Let's hope
that tip comes right. But we all whatever it is, we're not going to miss the FA Cup final because we're arrogant. We're not going to miss the quarterfinals of Wimbledon because it's not the best and Federer's playing a nobody. I promise you, we're going to just be watching sport left, right, and centre and loving it. for what it. We all love it. We're so lucky that we had it for so long. We'll have it again. Couple of months.
Yeah,
that's all.
100%.
Excellent, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for joining me on this Saturday evening. Barney, it's been great catching up with you again.
Brent, I'd love to be on again. I'd love to be on again.
We'll definitely do. We'll do the golf show definitely.
So yeah, I would love to do the golf show, and whenever you need me, I'll be here. And what a great hour I've had talking to all of you guys and everyone watching. So it's been fantastic. Everyone stay healthy, and let's get rid of this virus, and let's get back to normal again soon. And let's get sport on again, because I am going mad.
You're not alone there, Barney. Thanks very much. Barney from MSC Sports, Gary Lentin from Shuffle Up Poker and GGGaming. Gary, great having you on the show as always, and I love that Ryder Cup type idea. So I'm going to get working on my team as well.
Brilliant. Brent,
thank you.
Everything. I've said it before, you're good for the game. Barney, nobody has more passion and knowledge than you, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and I look forward to catching up with you, whether it's Thursday or Saturday next week. Guys, stay home, be good, and we'll speak soon.
Excellent.
Cheers,
thanks to the guys who watched in the live chat. Thanks, Barney. Thanks, Gary. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, go down below and you can hit the subscribe button. And we look forward to seeing you over the coming weeks and days. We'll have some more shows.